Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. So this is part 2 video on ReactJS CRUD example using Zustand state management library. So our main focus is to remove this static content and we have to implement the API call and that API response we have to push into our store state and then we have to retrieve that data from store into our all cakes component. Okay, so to use to consume API into our application, one of the best choice for learners, that is JSON server. That is a fake JSON server which we can set up into our local machine. So we no need to write any code. That is one benefit, and it is fully functional fake server. That means I can create a item, I can update a item, I can read the items, and I can delete the items at that server. Okay, so search like JSON server and click on this npm link and you can find a command here. So copy this command and open that command prompt anywhere in your application. Okay, so this command itself install the JSON server globally. Okay, so first do this step. Since I have already done it, I'm not going to do it again. Okay, next thing, go to the GitHub repository. So here you can read some documentation regarding about the JSON server and how to use it. Okay. So to after installing JSON server globally, okay, we if we want to run the server, you can create a folder anywhere. Okay, and within within that folder, we have to open the terminal and we have to run this command. Okay. So what I will do, instead of creating a separate folder, I am directly create or set up the server inside of my React.js application. Okay. But one drawback it is this JSON server by default runs 3000 port number, which is same as our React.js application default port number. Okay. But we can to overcome this by specifying the port number explicitly. So let me go for command for port number also. So like this, you can specify port number explicitly and you can run the JSON server. So what I will do, copy this command and go to our application in the package.json for my convenience to run the server whenever I want. What I will do, inside of the script, I will add a one more script command so that using that command, I can run the server whenever I want. So I will name it like JSON server. You can give any command name and paste that command here. And I want to run the server at port number 4000. Okay. So now let's try to run the JSON server. So for that, let me open the terminal. Okay. And to run the JSON server, we have to type command like npm space run space and our script's command name. What is that name? JSON server. Okay. Enter it. So here you can see some server is trying to start at the port number 4000. And here you can see some endpoints are displaying in this console log. So what happens means whenever we run this command for the first time, okay, so the JSON server by default creates a db.json file. You can search like db.json. And here you can see some JavaScript object are a JSON format. Okay, both are same. So here, if you see objects, so each object is one endpoint. So those endpoints only here it is showing in the console log. Okay, but I don't want to use them. I want to add my own data and I want to receive that data as a response because this data will be written as a response when we access the endpoint. Okay, let me remove this data. Okay, and I will name it like cakes. Okay, and array. Inside of it, I will add my items that will be written as a response. So we have item in our cake store, right? So copy this item, cut, cut this item, okay, and add it here in the db.json. Okay. Now what happened means if you observe the console log here, you can see a new endpoint created. See here, slash cakes. So what JSON server will do, whatever objects we add here, that root object will be taken as a endpoint name. Okay. Now if I try to access this on the browser directly, I am expecting this object as my response. So let's go to the browser and try to access it. See, I am able to read the API response. Like this, we can set up the fake JSON server, and it also supports all HTTP verbs. Nothing but, let me show you, get, post, put, delete. That means I can do entire CRUD operation by consuming this fake JSON server. Okay, so that's all about setting up the fake JSON server. Okay, now we have to consume that API into our application, right? So to consume that API into our application, I am going to install one of the most recommended library, that is Axios, which helps to communicate with the any kind of API calls. Okay, so search like Axios npm and click on the link. And here you can notice the command to install. So copy the command and go to our application and open the terminal. Now let's install the library. So Axios installed successfully. Now let's go to our cake store, and while explaining the key features of the Zustand library, it supports asynchronous actions or methods. So what I can do, I can write a asynchronous method, and inside of that asynchronous method, I can call my API call directly itself. Here. Okay. So I will name my function like getCake API. Okay, and it will be a asynchronous call. I will use arrow function, async arrow function. Okay, constant API response equal to await, and I can use Axios. See, and it is imports from the Axios. Okay, dot. It will provide default methods based on the HTTP request type. So I want GET request, right? And to this method we have to input our API. Okay, so we know our endpoint, so copy this and pass it here. Okay, and here we are waiting for the response. So when we got the response, we have to update into our state. Okay, this cake data, and any state, either it is a Redux or Redux toolkit or Justin or any other third-party state management library. The main rule is we never directly modify the state, but we can generate a new state and return that state. Okay, so it involves few logical steps while we are updating the more internal properties inside of the state. So one of the best solution when we are using the state is to integrate the immer library. So what is using of benefit of using in immer library means the code we will write like changing the state directly, but internally it will generate a new state based on our code what we write. Okay, so it is, so we don't need to write more logical code. Okay, to update the state we will write simple code like it's it looks like we are directly changing the state, but internally it won't change the state directly, Immer will handle. Okay, so we can use Immer as well, just like dev tools. Okay, so let me fetch the Immer from Zustand slash middleware slash Immer. Okay, and now just like dev tools, I can use Immer and wrap this entire set arrow function. Okay, so Immer. Okay, that's it. That is the simple integration step to integrate the Immer. Okay, now what I will do now to once we got the response, I want to push the data into my cake data property inside of the state. For that, I can use this set variable, and this set variable takes the state with arrow function. Okay, and here I can directly assign cake data property with my API response. Okay, API response dot data. Okay, if we don't use immer, we cannot update state like this directly. We have to return the new state. Okay, so that is my logic or async function I need in my cake store file. Now I have to consume it in my all cakes to invoke the API call. So what I will do, since it is a method, right? I have to get the reference of this method. Just like how I am getting this cake data, I can write same code for getting the reference of the method also. Okay, so get cake API call use store, and state will be the input for the arrow function, and state dot get API. Okay, so here for a property it is returning data. For a method, it will return the reference of the method. Okay. Now I will invoke the API call inside of my use state. Okay. So use effect arrow function. Okay. And here I can call get cake API. Okay. I think that's it. We are good. If I go to my application, I can see API call invocation, and I am able to see the response data stored into the store, and that store data is read by this all cakes property, and the response will be rendered to the UI. Let's check it. See, I am able to see the data. If I inspect element, okay, and go to network calls, and if I reload again, see, I am getting the API response. Okay, and if I go to Redux tool, see, initially state will be empty array, right? The state data is empty, and next it is updated with my API response. So that's it. We are done with read operation using just an state management library. Okay, our next focus is to implement the create operation for creating a new item and pushing that new item into our store, so that that data will be rendered on our UI. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video delivered some useful content to you. If you like the video, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel to support me. Soon we are going to meet with new video. Until then, signing off.